Okay. This is a story that you're gonna want to hear. But first, let me turn this off. This is a story about getting out of your comfort zone, saying yes, and the kindness of strangers. And it's taken me nearly 5 months to make this video. There's a couple reasons for that. The main one being, I want to make something worth watching. I didn't want to waste your time, and I know that there's things that can be gained from this experience, but I just wasn't sure how to tell it in the right way. The second reason was this day was lived before I had a camera of my own. So most of what you're going to see, if not all of it, was taken on my now good friend Sohee's GoPro. With all that said, let's get into it. Happy birthday! Yeah. So this story takes place within the first 2 weeks of my freshman year of college. I had just moved to the University of Hawaii, and I told my roommate what classes I was taking. One of them being Korean 101, and he hears some people talking. Speaking, here I'll show you guys real quick. How's it going? So it's right out here. So they were talking, right? My roommate, he was like, hey Nikhil, go talk to these girls, I think they're speaking Korean. So I was like, okay, let me say hi at the very least. So I get on my dorm, go to the main lounge area, and I'm like, hey, my roommate said you guys were speaking Korean and said to say hi. And they were like, oh yeah, we grew up in Korea. One of the girls, Yejun, I found out she lived 4 doors down from me, and she is a 4-year student. And then the other girl, Sohee, she was an exchange student who was finishing up her senior year of college here in Hawaii. And so I got to talking with them, and they were like, you know, if you ever need help in Korean, you can always just text us, we can study sometime, here's my number. A couple days go by, and I get this text from Sohee, the exchange student. And she's like, hey Nikhil, I'm having this birthday party Saturday. There's going to be quite a few Korean exchange students, and Yejun will also be there. If you want to get some practice, feel free to come by. And I said, yeah, I'd love to go. And she asked me to also bring my guitar. And so I said, okay, great, I'd love to. And a couple days go by, and she's like, hey Nikhil, change of plans, it'll actually be on a boat. And I said, that sounds awesome. And I was thinking maybe 10 to 15 people, no larger than that. So Saturday arrives, and so he texts me the address and says, hey, it'll be later this afternoon. So I say, great, I'll be there. And it's kind of, it was in this really weird area. The Uber was like, hey, is this the right place? And I was like, it says it is. So I'm just walking along this harbor in Honolulu. Then I see about 80 to 100 people. And I'm thinking to myself, this cannot be the place. But I hear them all speaking Korean. And so I keep walking towards them, and suddenly I see Yejun, and she goes and she waves at me, and I'm like, okay, thank God, I'm in the right place. So as I get closer, Yejun tells me that no one can get in contact with the birthday girl Sohee right now. And keep in mind, I had only had one conversation with either of them. So I was completely out of my comfort zone, but I was excited to see where the day would go. So eventually, Sohee comes up about 10 to 15 minutes after I am in this huge group of mostly Korean exchange students, but also some Japanese exchange students. And then there was about 5 people who grew up in the United States. Luckily, I had Yejun to help me translate for the most part, but I very much relied on body language to communicate, lots of smiles with everyone. It was great. So Sohee arrives, and we walk up this dock, and there's this huge catamaran. It's about 40 to 50 feet, and it's so big that these 80 people and I did not feel cramped. There was enough space for everyone. There was an above deck, a below deck, there was a eating area, and I'm just kind of taking this all in. And so then we go and we motor out to right off of the coast of Waikiki. And from there, I find out that there's also kayaks and there's paddle boards.
Hey, you coming in first?
Who is the first?
Oh my goodness.
There's a floating trampoline.
I'll get on. Yeah. Okay, jump on it. Yeah. Come join the circle.
There's this huge inflatable water slide. Just this amazing, like, almost an amusement park on the water. So there's a couple hours of going on kayaking and doing all these fun things, and we're eating, and then eventually we motor back into the harbor. And while we're doing that, there was this girl who brought this flute, and I guess from my understanding it was this traditional Korean flute, but I had never heard of this instrument, and it was beautiful. It was so complex, the sounds of it, and she ended up playing Happy Birthday for Sohee on it. And then Sohee looks at me and she's like, "Hey, did you still bring your guitar?" And I say, "Yeah, I did." And she's like, "Mind playing everyone a song?" And I was a little nervous because it was following an amazing act. But I just kind of went with it. It felt like one of those days where you need to just kind of go with the season. Oh, my friends, they fly away. Reach my hand and won't you stay? Alright, sing along with this next verse. You ate all the cake. You ate all the cake. I was at my uncle's birthday. On my. So this is the video that I've been wanting to make. It's a story about saying yes. It's a story about the kindness of strangers. And it's about getting out of your comfort zone. Thank you so much for watching. If you like videos like these, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. My name is Nikhil Stewart. I'm recording my college adventure and travels and different stories I hear that I feel needs to be shared. With that said, thank you so much and have a great day.
너 문어 타임.
Thank you.